Hello, leader. Times, they are a-changing. As you step into a new year, you're smart and you've realized that it's becoming more and more critical to master leadership skills in order to keep your doors open, your team happy, and your profits growing. So what does all this mean and how do you do it? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today with some real examples of people who are taking back control of their success in both relevant brand building, team development, and remarkable client care. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast. Thanks for tuning in and following your curiosity to learn and honor your personal conviction to be the best leader you can be. On this podcast, you won't hear a bunch of theories presented by academics who haven't been in a workplace in years or ever, and you'll not hear from executives who are flush with capital, people, and pool tables in their cafeteria telling you how to build team culture. Nope. Why? Because you are a small business owner and you've built something great out of nothing. And through it all, you've learned that you need a team, but not just any team. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. I've led winning teams in retail, innovative technical teams at a Fortune 50 corporation for decades, not-for-profit boards, and in online business, and helped many remote teams win at work. And I can tell you that no one escapes team troubles, including me. These days, I'm the CEO of Stacking Your Team, where I teach and develop tools for small business owners so they can attract, retain, and develop their teams so the founder can step out of her day-to-day operation. I'm so happy you're here because we all know that the people side of running your business is often the most difficult, and the team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So come on, let's jump in to today's episode. It's becoming more and more important to stay ahead of the curve, anticipate what your clients and customers want before they even do, and plan for the unplanned. We've all seen consumer spending habits change, the cost of living is rising, and technology, well, it's not slowing down anytime soon. So as a small business owner, it's all about doing the right things now to ensure a strong future. In your role as CEO, one of the most important components of it is to cast a vision of the future and then back it up with solid plans that deliver your intended outcomes. I mean, come on. You want to be ready for the next big opportunity, and you want to be prepared for any shifts in the niche that you serve, rather than reacting or trying to react with the strategy that's thrown together under duress. So let's break it down into these 4 critical leadership skills that I believe we all need to have in order to be successful in your small business this year. The first critical leadership skill that I believe will be absolutely necessary to learn, apply, and then master if you're going to be successful this year is this. Either you or someone on your leadership team needs to be fascinated with emerging trends. This is directly linked to continuing to be relevant to your clients and customers in a world where they're being bombarded with new stuff every minute, every day. A great example of this is Stanley. You know, that 110-year-old thermos company that has morphed into a cool cup that all the cool moms have now. My dad had a Stanley thermos that he took to work at the factory every day for decades. All of his hunting buddies had theirs too, and you can still find some vintage ones if you look hard enough at the flea markets or even online. So how did a brand and a product go from being a man's must-have, can't be a real man without it, to being a pastel cup that fits in your vehicle's cup holder, complete with accessories like charms, name tags, snack holders, and a strap to make it wearable, and those cute straw toppers and more? Well, an influencer, of course. Here are some stats that I found online. In 2019, they had $73 million in sales. In 2023, Yeah, just a few short years later, they're projected to hit $750 million in sales. Wow, that is a definite resurgence of their brand and their product lineup. You see, it all went wild when a popular blog for women posted about this cup that suddenly became in demand. Instead of brushing off this sudden surge in sales from a new and unexpected audience, like most brands do, Stanley's new president, who has a strong marketing background, by the way, decided that they should go all in on this new audience made up of women. They launched brand new colors that were pastels and other colorful options, very opposite of what they had done for the last century. They did collaborations with influencers and other popular brands like Starbucks, and they created wait lists of thousands of women and sold out for every new launch. They're on fire. In Canada, one of our biggest social media influencers is Jillian Harris in British Columbia. She's never without her white Stanley Cup. And of course, she's an affiliate for the brand. So what was the critical leadership skill here? Being fascinated by emerging trends instead of fearful or complacent. You see, sometimes you can have a winning product in your back pocket. You just need to get in front of the right audience. Stanley, the brand who had catered to hardworking men for over 100 years, sees the interest from a whole different customer base, and instead of waving those interested women off, their CEO saw the opportunity and took action on it. $750 million in projected sales kind of action. What's the second critical leadership skill that I believe you're going to need to take a hold of this year? Here it is. Embracing technology. Case in point, healthcare professionals quickly shifted to telehealth due to the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown protocols and the general fear associated with being in the public. This new real-life situation ramped up the anxiety levels everywhere, but millions of people still needed their healthcare services. They just needed them to be delivered in a new way that allowed them to stay safely at home. Enter telehealth, which was already available, but not used widely and certainly not as mainstream as it is now. Many of my clients learned it, embraced it, and trained their teams on the functionality over a weekend to be able to contact their clientele quickly to get people jumping online to meet with their healthcare professional, including children. But that wasn't the end of it. Apps became the next best thing to being on a video call with your provider, and therapy practices took a hit when big tech companies who had nothing to do with therapy decided to step in and introduce apps that were marketed as an easier way of getting help, packaged as better help, rather than having to leave your home and go see a therapist in person. Now, no one was exempt from it, including dietitians who are now losing their clients to apps like Noom. Unfortunately, many private practice owners lost team members who were enticed to jump over to working as a contractor for those app providers, only to quickly realize just how much they'd walked away from. It's very different being a part of a team in a private practice than being one of thousands of contractors who feel incredibly isolated working from home through technology, day in, day out. So what was that critical leadership skill? Embracing technology, even when it feels excessive and overwhelming. Small business owners who serve the healthcare niche now offer a variety of methods of delivering their services, and they've accepted the idea that not all of their clients will want in-person services. Some have leaned even harder into this to better serve those who live in rural areas and those who regularly travel. And the third critical leadership skill that I believe you need for this brand new year is this: improving internal and external communication. Here's what I mean. You don't need to overcomplicate how you connect with your team, including those of you who have remote teams or teams spread out across multiple locations. That's actually your competitive advantage as a small business owner. No massive executive suite of people who are all vying for the same airtime and exposure. No need to have layers and layers of leadership to sign off and align to everything you want to implement from your strategic plan. Now, there are so many tools, apps, and tech to simplify your team communications. The challenge is to choose a tool and stick with it. Stop yourself from trying out every new bell and whistle that comes along. Instead, give yourself and your team time to master these tools and hold people accountable to using them properly. And above all else, decide that communication efforts is now part of the role. Yes, every member of your leadership team needs to own the communication for their profit center or business function. It's not all up to you. Start creating more leaders by making it normal that communication efforts are led by a single point of contact for each area of the business. Let your extended team see other leaders in action and learn how different communication styles are appreciated. But what about external communication? This is where small business owners often drop the ball or become complacent. One of the best ways to improve your communication is to ensure that it's someone's role and responsibility to be responsive to customer inquiries. Thousands of dollars are lost each year in a small business because of those broken contact us functionalities on websites. A potential client or customer reaches out and no one responds because of a broken link or an automated email inbox that no one is managing, or simply because there's no real single point of contact to oversee and take action on these inquiries. This can also happen with inbox messages on social media, where bots are used to capture the inquiry, but a real person doesn't reach out to build the relationship, so the client or the customer bounces off and away. One of my favorite external communication tools for brands is the chat box help desk. I especially like the ones where you can escalate your question to someone with a higher level of expertise if you need to. And here's something else that you can do to improve your external communication efforts. I want to encourage you to plan on attending some local events to build your network this year. Now that everyone is back to feeling comfortable with public gatherings, it's time to get back out there and consider bringing a team member or two along with you. Memorable FaceTime, educating people about what you do and who your ideal client is, and being noticed is all part of building your pipeline. So what was the critical leadership skill here? Teaching your team how to communicate and connect with each other while becoming less reliant on you. Too often, the CEO is looked upon to solve a crisis, address a poor rating or a customer complaint, provide performance feedback, or represent the business in public, when in reality, you've got capable people on your team in positions of leadership, so why not let them lead? You can help guide them and prepare them, but then step back and give them the space to speak, answer questions, and follow through on feedback. Communication is a life skill that all smart leaders know is a never-ending opportunity to practice and improve upon. So here's the fourth critical leadership skill that I believe you need in order to succeed this year and every year to come. Here it is. Embracing change. I think we can all agree that change is inevitable, and not much seems to be slowing down. The COVID-19 pandemic brought on a whole new meaning to the word pivot, so much so that people despise that word now. You may also be seeing your marketplace shift, which can be alarming because you don't have a crystal ball to see what's coming next. But you can make smart moves when you have time to remove yourself from the day-to-day operation and focus on business development. More think time, more planning time. That's my wish for all of you this year. Here are 2 examples of local businesswomen that I know really well, and it's been fabulous to watch them swivel into a new direction. Notice I'm refraining from saying the word pivot. Well, almost. A former client of mine who I recently had the pleasure of hosting a VIP day with owns a lovely bakery and bistro. It's thriving, and she certainly has left her stamp on her small town, bringing a whole new level of eatery experiences to them. She's upgraded her space into a lovely new location, complete with patio and exceptional food, as always. The whole vibe of the place is awesome. Being located in a small town, she recognized that people wanted more options for a night out for dinner, but didn't want to have to drive into the big city to enjoy a meal that was prepared really well and to get a higher level of dining experience than they'd normally get here. She also noticed that people's outlook on drinking alcoholic beverages had also shifted. Not only for the obvious driving dangers, but also for the impact it has on our health and well-being and how it can amplify mood swings for people who are already troubled with anxiety. I mean, who knew that it was going to be very okay to be a non-drinker? As one myself, I can tell you that growing up, and even in my 30s, I had to always be prepared for someone to spike my drink as a joke, or at a minimum, bombard me all night with questions about why I don't want to drink and comments about being a party pooper. Oh, come on, it's just one little drink. I am so thrilled to see society making it okay, even cool, to not drink at every social event. But to get back to our smart business owner, she decided to open up her bistro 2 evenings a week for a select menu of fine dining offerings coupled with a full array of non-alcoholic cocktails. She's providing what her customers want, creating a ton of hype for it, and her brick and mortar business is open for business more hours, leveraging her seating capacity to the fullest. I'll be taking my supper club gals to Amy's C'est Tout Bakery and Bistro in the coming months to share her incredible food and beverages with them. Another example of a business owner who noticed a shift in her revenues and who also swiveled into a new arena is a close friend of mine who happens to be a consultant for new entrepreneurs. She noticed that her clients, who were all part of a government-funded program of various sorts, were introduced to her as a facilitator for some trainings and tools she offered to help kickstart their idea into an actual business. Her expertise is business plans and cash flow planning, and she's owned multiple brick and mortars over the years. So yeah, her insight is super helpful for that new business owner. When program funding was dialed back due to a shift in leadership of these organizations, coupled with little to no capital for these new entrepreneurs to hire her after they had graduated from the program, she swiveled to the banks. Yeah, she began to support bank managers who were being sought after to help those not so new, but not incredibly experienced either, entrepreneurs craft a better loan application. You see, these people had come to a bank seeking a loan to move their home-based business to a brick and mortar or expand their brick and mortar or renovate their space. But the bank manager knew their business acumen wasn't on point. Their loan application left noticeable gaps, and generally, the entrepreneurs were not positioned well for a loan. That's where my friend came in. The banks hire her to advise, create, and position the business owner more favorably for a reasonable loan that they could confirm with her planning and guidance to pay back. A total win-win. So what was the critical leadership skill here? Embracing change instead of fighting it or blaming your lost revenues on it. It's true, we all like stability and we'd like to have more of it. But business owners who have critical leadership skills are stretching themselves to think broader than their immediate client and customer roster and thinking creatively about additional revenue streams that are doable with some twists to your services. So as we close out today, let's recap what you just learned here on the podcast about the 4 critical leadership skills that I believe you'll need to master in order to be successful this year and for the years to come. First up was being fascinated by emerging trends instead of fearful or complacent, and that includes making it everyone's responsibility. Add this to their 5-hour work plans to notice, come forward with what they've been seeing that's in the direct correlation to your brand, services, and products. You might not jump on every idea, but innovating ideas should be rewarded. The second one was embracing technology, even when it feels excessive and overwhelming. Leverage your leadership team members to learn it, teach it, comply with it, and make it normal in your workplace. And then stop yourself and your team from that shiny penny syndrome, but move forward with tools that enhance what you've got and make work easier, more productive for everyone on your team. And the third one was teaching your team how to communicate and connect with each other, becoming less reliant on you. You'll be developing more leaders when you set this in place, including reinforcing that they own the outcomes of their communication efforts, both good and bad. People's skills are communication skills, and the more people on your team who communicate well with others, the more effective everyone is, including you. And the last critical leadership skill that I'll share with you today that I truly believe you're going to need in order to be successful in your small business is embracing change instead of fighting it or blaming your lost revenue on it. Sure, I get it. Sometimes we need to vent and blame our troubles on people or circumstances. So go ahead, wallow in that for a few hours, but then pull yourself together and move on. I know that it's a lot of pressure to have your family, your clients, your customers, and your team counting on you to ensure that they're all taken care of. Seriously, I get it, which is why I'm so darn driven to help all of you get more time to think and plan for your future instead of reacting to change while being so exhausted and overwhelmed, your strategies don't actually work all that well. You need time out of your daily operation to develop these critical thinking skills that will ensure your long-term success. Having a strong leadership team is your first step. If you're finding this podcast helpful, imagine what's available to you inside both of the Leadership Lab small group coaching programs. It's all there, waiting for you, and so am I. Leadership Lab 101 is a 4-month fast-track program for women who are building their team and want the proven foundational team leadership tools to help them get it right from the get-go. A recent graduate of the program said, "Thank you for offering this bite-sized Leadership Lab. It's been the best investment this year. The ROI has been tremendous with regards to my revenue, my time, and my clarity. I appreciate you offering 101 at a lower rate. It allowed me to jump right in, and I appreciate learning from you." And if you have a team of 5 or more and want a leadership team to drive your daily operations so you don't have to, you would love the popular Leadership Lab program. It's a 12-month investment where you get all of my signature tools, private and group calls, and even in-person retreats to accelerate the people side of your business. Team performance is always on my mind, so I've got a program designed specifically for your team to accelerate their effectiveness too. A client recently told me, "The Leadership Lab has changed the way I am at work, the way I work at work, and the way other people work at work. Our competence is completely different. We have so much more organization, systems, processes, and better communication. If I were to go back 12 months, it would just feel unrecognizable." You can join either of the programs at any time. No need to get caught up in any big launch campaign, because when you know it's time to get quality help leading your team, it's the perfect time to join. So zip on over to stackingyourteam.com and see that I don't just coach you, I teach you. And yes, It's really me who steps into your business to help streamline your efforts so it's easier to be ready for more growth. Leadership can be exciting, challenging, and lonely at times. So don't go it alone. Let me help you create the team and the leadership structure that you've been craving. So until next time, remember, if you have a dream, you need a team. So let's get stacking yours today.